What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Plus Added Time here on Project Dits. My name, as always, is Nathan, and with me again, back in the first team now, at wing back, it's Darragh. Hi, Darragh. How are you?
Nathan, brilliant. Thank you. Lovely to hear your voice again. It's been a long time. No, say, well, no, here. You know what I mean.
It's been too long, far too long. But let's not even pretend we're on our own.
Like usual.
All the way sometimes from Rogue Opinions, but mostly from the Conventional Nine. The only man in the history to make an £100 bet that his own club won't win a league title. It's Bayern Munich fan, Rahul. Rahul, how's it going?
In the intro, really? In the intro.
Yep.
I'm doing fine.
And that's true. That is a true statement I just made. He's bet £100 against Bayern winning the Bundesliga this season. Darragh, how do you feel about that?
I just want to ask, who are you putting ahead of Bayern Munich?
Champions
League holders.
Leipzig or Dortmund, you know?
Yeah.
Two of them as well, not even. Yeah. Where are you
Gladbach at
this
point, you know?
Yeah. Oh, now Gladbach comes sneaking. Yeah. Basically, anyone that wins a game, he's having to cling on to at this point.
1 second. Who reached the finals of the Champions League last season? And who beat them yesterday? So, you know. Leipzig is the answer for them.
Leipzig reached
No, PSG reached the finals, but who beat them? Leipzig yesterday. So
who beat Leipzig last week? 5-0.
And who lost this week to some Turkish team whose name I can't even pronounce?
I mean, we can go about whataboutery all day long, but I'm just saying. At the end of the day, either Bayern wins the league or I get £100. So.
No, see, if Bayern win the league, though, you have to parade around in a Dortmund top.
I don't have to parade around. I just have to wear it, and that's basically it.
Well, it's on the record now. You bet £100 against Bayern.
Lord have mercy.
Darragh, would you ever bet £100 against your own club winning something?
No, never. That's one rule. You can't bet against your own team, isn't it?
You should at this point, you know.
Nah.
At least this season, you should.
Best team in the world, mate. We have the trophy.
Sure.
Best
team in the world. Okay.
We've still the trophy.
It's really weird to make a sarcastic comment like, "Oh, you should bet against Liverpool at this point," when Liverpool haven't conceded a goal in the Champions League yet.
It does not matter. It does not matter.
Reece Williams, he looks like Van Dijk. He has all the ability of Van Dijk. I'm convinced it's just Van Dijk wearing like some sort of moisturizer.
It might as well be. But this podcast is coming out a little bit later in the week, so presumably you're done with last weekend's Premier League and European football. We don't care about it anymore. So we're going to talk about something more recent, which is the Champions League. It's been, should we call it interesting yet?
Yeah, it's been quite interesting, to be fair.
Very interesting for me.
Oh, okay.
It's been good for you. It's not been interesting for you.
It's been a perfect start.
Yeah.
Okay, we're calling it interesting. But Rahul was the guest. We're going to start with Group A and Bayern Munich. You didn't think you were going to beat Salzburg, but you pulled it off just about.
We pulled it off. First of all, Tolisso and Kimmich in the double pivot is not something I'm fond of. So I was worried before the game. However, first of all, they got the first goal. So just saying, they got the first goal. But then Bayern did get two. And then they got one back. So it was close till the 78th minute. And then they basically forgot how to play football. But yeah, until then, it was a close game. So I wasn't completely wrong, but I was, but yeah.
I predicted we'd lose. We won 6-2. Quote, I wasn't completely wrong.
It was 2-2 till the 78th minute. The game could have gone either way. It went in the favor of Bayern, which I'm happy about, but yeah.
You don't sound happy about it.
I'm very happy. I mean, a perfect record so far. 14 games unbeaten in the Champions League. Yeah, Bayern are flying.
How much money did you put on losing that game?
None.
Good.
I'm not made of money at this point.
You're all out.
Otherwise, I would.
Yeah, Bayern. I think they're favourites for a reason. At this point, kind of Bayern, and when we get to Liverpool, I think they're possibly the two favourites at the minute. Do you guys agree?
Kinda, but here's the thing with Bayern, right? I think attacking. No. One sec. I get it. I come off as like the least, least favoring Bayern guy in the world. But just want to say this, right? Bayern attack really well, and I think under Hansi Flick, the attack has been more fluid than I've seen it possibly since Jupp. I mean, we have more options. We have our fullbacks moving forward. Our defensive midfielders are turning out to be really good playmakers. Muller is moving in. He's moving, to the flanks. Same with Lewandowski. So everyone's constantly moving, and we're getting better looks on goal. But the problem we've had for ages is the fact that our defense is lackluster at times. They do turn to switch off. Either it's because of the high pressing, and at points it just seems like lackadaisical because we see players like Sula, who I think would be the next player like Boateng, because he plays the ball really well. But then the person next to him tracks so far ahead that, and again the fullbacks track ahead. So defensively, there are always gaps. Even against the game against Lokomotiv Moscow, the game was so cagey because they were able to get us on the counter each time, but they were not able to finish. And I think against teams that do, clean their plate, it would be a tough match for Bayern. But yeah, so far it's been 14 games unbeaten, so no, can't complain. Even though I just have complained, but yeah.
3 wins out of 3 in the group as well.
Yeah, but they just look ropey, Darragh, all the
They
time.
do.
Only 12 goals scored, conceded 3, and those 3, by the way, count as double because they were pathetically conceded. So really, we're going to give you a goal difference of none at this point. Just embarrassing. But you're in there against Atletico Madrid. The game
They were
against
shit.
they don't look great.
Yeah.
They look a far cry from the Atletico side of even last year, who knocked out Darragh. Who did they knock out? I can't remember.
Adrian FC, I think it was.
Oh, they knocked out Adrian.
Adrian knocked Liverpool out, if I'm being honest.
Wow. So
Poor Adrian.
He's a nice guy. He's a lovely lad, but that's all I can say.
he's just nervous. He doesn't have Van Dijk in front of him now, so he just looks scared.
But to be fair, he was, even last season, I remember he came in, Alisson got injured first game of the season, last season, and he was still making mistakes. But he was getting away with it because we were still winning all the games. Do you know what I mean? He's never looked convincing. He's made some good saves here and there, but just never.
Well, he was a weird signing when you even brought him in, because West Ham didn't even want him as first choice.
Yeah,
That is true.
Or didn't even want him on the bench, but then you were it's almost like you were bargain hunting.
We had just sold Simon Mignolet at the time to Club Brugge. Obviously, he went off to be first choice, and we needed a backup. And we signed Adrian and Andrew Lonergan. The two of the best keepers I've ever seen in a Liverpool shirt, regardless. And what can I say? Luckily, Alisson's the best keeper in the world.
Yeah. Okay.
I thought that would spring debate.
It's okay. You can say that.
Thank you.
Rahul was about to argue, then realised he'd sound too positive. Well, he better just
Fuck's sake.
rope it in. But Lokomotiv Moscow, I can't pretend to know a lot about them. Do any of you guys? Is this group done? Bayern and Atletico through?
No,
Has to be.
I don't think so. I think Bayern are through, but Atletico don't look great. And Moscow play really well. Their build-up play was really good against Atletico and against Bayern, but their finishing is terrible. So if maybe they can get a few chances and actually convert them, who knows? Maybe they go through.
Maybe it's going to take quite a big effort though for that. They're going to have to beat Salzburg. They're going to have to win all their final games probably.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, probably.
Salzburg. Rahul, you had high hopes for Salzburg. What's gone wrong? No wins. Like one draw.
I never had high hopes for them, first of all. I was just saying that
just thought they'd beat the reigning champions.
because there were injuries at hand. Just saying. But anyways, and COVID issues. But yeah, the team did not look great. At least they did look good in the beginning, but then they had nothing about them in attack. And yeah, they were like easy to fend off by the end. So
it's not the same team as last season either, is it? When they had Minamino, Haaland, and Chan up front, and they looked deadly going forward.
For sure, yeah.
And obviously, it's been a bit of a turnover in the players, as there always is going to be at a Red Bull team. And I can't see them getting out of that group.
Yeah, I agree. I don't see them getting out of the group either.
Well, moving on, we're going to kind of go all over the place, but I want the bulk of this discussion to kind of be about the teams that we support. So I'm going to jump to the big D, Group D. No Virgil van Dijk at the minute, but Liverpool top of the group. No goals conceded. Atalanta, who before the game, everyone was kind of fearing, I guess, a little bit because of Liverpool's defensive issues, but Darragh, you just bitch slap them to the floor.
I honestly cannot explain what's going on. Ever since we've lost Van Dijk, we seem to be just so much better defensively. I don't know if maybe we've just, I suppose we're probably playing more of a way to protect the back four at times.
Of course, yeah.
And maybe the attack is suffering a bit, as you see in Premier League games against, the likes of West Ham and Sheffield United. But honestly, the win against Atalanta was just so unexpected. Not the win, but the manner of the win. Just played them off the park. It was amazing. 5-0 up after about 50 minutes. Amazing.
Yeah, but
okay, go on. Sorry.
I was going to say Atlanta just played straight into your hands.
Exactly.
Really, the way that they press and the way that they kind of are all guns blazing at all times was just you just pick them off like.
True. And the build up to the game, everyone was raving. There was a stat I heard that they got 98 goals in Serie A last season, and that's only ever been bettered 7 times in the history of that league. And they just didn't look threatening at all. They had a few chances towards the end, but it was game over at that point.
Maybe they didn't believe.
Yeah, but the team was lacking quite like a few of their essential players. I mean, since last season they did lose Ilicic. I mean, he is playing, but he did have issues because of which I don't think his mind is in football. Then again, Darragh wasn't there, Gosens wasn't there, and Caldara wasn't there. So they were missing, players that they actually, that were instrumental in their success last season. But yeah, Liverpool. I have a question about Liverpool. So do you think that they're playing more of a low block system, and is that going to hinder maybe fullbacks like Trent and Robbo in maybe creating more up front?
It's a weird one because I think they're still getting forward, but they're obviously not getting the assists that they were the last few seasons. So again, maybe there is more of a low block at play and just more emphasis on protecting like Reece Williams and Nathaniel Phillips alongside Joe Gomez. I just wonder when Joe Mata comes back, he's back in training obviously, will that give, Robbo and Trent more power to just push forward and play more attacking football? Because it has looked hasn't looked great lately. Obviously the win against Ajax, good performance, nothing amazing. Obviously got really lucky with the own goal, and the game against Midtjylland at Anfield was one of the worst games I think I've watched in a long time, and we still won the game. Do you know what I mean? So, very strange time to be a Liverpool fan.
Yeah. It's not the toughest group in the world that you could have got. Obviously, it's not a worst case scenario like Ajax, although they're a big name. They get gutted every single summer. And Atlanta, as Rahul just said, are missing half the squad at the minute. And Midtjylland just sounds like a nice day out. But so easily through. I'd have to say pretty much all but through. Just another win and you're there if the other result goes your way.
Very much. If we beat Atalanta the next game and Ajax don't beat Midtjylland, we finish top of the group regardless. So you'd like to think with the 3 games to play, it looks pretty sewn up already.
Yeah. And I know we're meant to be talking about Champions League, but obviously this weekend you got Manchester City.
True.
At Anfield. With that defence, Are you worried?
I don't know, because obviously Trent and Robbo both got taken off in the Atalanta game. Robbo after about 60 and Trent after about 80. So obviously he was resting then. And he took off Jota for Firmino and left Mane and Salah on. So, he's obviously protecting the fullbacks, and he took off Henderson in midfield as well. So I reckon it'll be a really good game. I worry about the defence, like always. But obviously, a load of clean sheets since Van Dijk's been gone. I don't know what to expect at this point.
Well, I think if you just stop Kevin De Bruyne at the minute, you're probably fine. Because I think they are going into this with no recognised striker, aren't they, City? Or is Jesus back?
Jesus came back and scored, didn't he?
Oh, did he? Oh, okay. He's rubbish anyway, so he'll be fine.
He's not. He's pretty good. I like him. He does the job.
Well, it's good. What's your prediction for the game, Darragh?
Well, at the minute, I can't predict anything other than a Liverpool win after what I've just seen against Atalanta. But obviously, Man City are Man City, and it's going to be, one of the games that decides the title, I still think.
Well, we'll segue into Man City since we're talking about them. So it just seems like a good podcasting thing to do. In a group with Porto,
Podcast 101 with Nathan
and Marseille. Marseille, who their manager Andre Villas-Boas has just called shit, and that's his words, not mine.
But you have to qualify for the Champions League, and then they can be shit.
Yeah, to be shit in the Champions League, you do have to qualify for the Champions League, as he pointed out, which is it's a fair comment. And they are shit. No goals scored, conceded 7. Like, Rahul, what do you make of Man City so far in the Champions League? Something that they covet like Gollum wants the ring.
Right. Again, I think De Bruyne is controlling everything. He is the one key element, and has been for a while. Even in the game against who did they play? I forget. I completely forgot who they played.
No, they played Olympiacos.
Right. Yeah, even in the game against that, he was the one who was creating everything. He was. But again, if you kind of hold him back, the team does look a shell of its former self. So, yeah, if De Bruyne continues to fire, and I mean, he was injured, and he's kind of coming back into it. If he gets in full form, then yeah, I doubt their capabilities of making the Champions League, in the higher rounds is a non-possibility. So it can happen, but it does depend on De Bruyne and maybe the players who come back from injury.
Yeah, I think they're going to need Aguero at some point. They need another difference maker. I think Ferran Torres has come in and done pretty well, considering he's had to play through the middle, and usually he's a right winger. Sterling is still kind of chipping in goals all the time. Phil Foden is doing good things. It is just the back line, which we've been saying for about 5 years now. Like, it is just that back line. The problem used to be as soon as Company was out, they fell to bits at the back, and then ever since he's gone, it's kind of been every time Laporte's out. But Ruben Diaz looks a good signing. Yeah, I think he's done well so far. So, and I expect them, Darragh. I'm sorry, but I think they should win this weekend. They should win. Just simply because.
Do you think they will? You say they should. Do you think they will win?
It depends, because as you can hear often on the Conventional 9 podcast when we talk about Pep Guardiola, he does have a history of when he goes into these big games of suddenly, for some reason, Kevin De Bruyne will be out on the right, Aki will be playing left wing. There'll be some sort of strange system in place and he'll botch it. But if he just goes out and trusts his players, I think City should win, but it'll probably be a boring draw.
Well, obviously, it always depends who's at home, doesn't it? Liverpool always seem to beat City at Anfield, and City always seem to beat Liverpool at the Etihad. It's been that way for the last, I think, 3 seasons.
As long as you played better than you did last time you played them, because that was shocking.
In fairness, I'd say they were all still hungover from the, from the few nights before. I know I still was.
Yeah, I think Alisson still had a hip flask in his glove. But I don't. Do you have any questions about them getting out of the group though? Rahul, do you think they're done now?
Yeah, it's done.
They got a very fortunate group, didn't they? Considering they weren't, top seed.
Yeah, they did. They got like Porto. They're a big name, but those Portuguese clubs always get gutted every summer as well. Olympiacos are kind of a name of footballing's past, and Marseille are shit, apparently.
Yeah.
But speaking of shit, we go to Group H. United are top.
Somehow.
Not somehow. We just win. You win when it matters, and United did that in the first two games, beating PSG at home, destroying Rahul's hopeful title favourites in the Bundesliga, Red Bull Leipzig. But of course, in true Man United fashion of late, they go to the easy one, seemingly, and Demba Ba scores.
Yeah. Going into it, it looked like a Turkish delight, but it was more a Turkish defright. Am I right, Nathan?
If we were next to each other, I'd high five you.
I'll work on that all week.
Darragh, did watching Demba Ba sprint down the pitch give you PTSD?
Just seeing Demba Ba's face in general gives me PTSD, to be honest. I still haven't gotten over it. It was 6 years ago at this point. Terrible. I don't want to talk about it. Back to United.
He loves the strawberry syrup. So
he must have had buckets before that game. Has it every day, apparently.
Yeah.
With United,
that answer was so cold when he talks about it. It's like he's thinking about it. How many times do you have it? And he just stares off and says, "Every day."
But United have a lot of problems at the minute. A lot of mixed results. I think a lot of overreaction as well to some bad things. But some of the defending is just beyond kind of a joke. And it's just so weird that you can go and look so composed against PSG, so classy against Leipzig in the second half, and it just looks so shit. So some other time,
I honestly cannot work out what's going on. It's so strange, isn't it? Beating the teams they expect to beat and just losing against Istanbul, as I'm going to call them because I can't pronounce their surname.
Yeah, it's just such a strange mentality issue, and it just seems to be a lot of players playing massively beneath themselves. I don't know if it's all tactics, which seems to be what a lot of people straight away jump on Ollie's back. Because sometimes you just got to look in, like Rahul sent me a stat that Bruno lost the ball 34 times against Istanbul. Like, you don't need a tactical genius to tell you not to do that. Like, you shouldn't need anyone to tell you not to lose the ball that many times. Like, that's not a manager's fault. He should be hooking him off. I'll say that, but
he should be. But the fact that he took off Donny van de Beek and left, Bruno on, I thought Van de Beek was having a good game when he came off.
Yeah, he played all right, and like I think Tanzebe getting pulled off at halftime was a bit cruel, but
yeah,
I think it said a lot about what he thinks of Lindelof that Scott McTominay went on. Like, I know Scott McTominay plays at the back for the national team, but that's because Scotland don't have 4 defenders.
They've got 4 left backs, but not 4 defenders.
Yeah, they do 4 left backs. It's like Scotland and England could have a good right backs v left back match at this point. But the problems aren't all Ollie's fault. But Rahul, what's going on, man? Help me out here.
I think it's so odd that every time United, either if they play well, people say, these players turned up. But as soon as they have a bad game, it comes to Ollie. And I think it's every week we hear that, Ollie should be sacked. And in my opinion, I don't think Ollie is tactically a great manager. I think he knows how to work in a system that he has built. And if a team figures that system out, he doesn't really change it. And the problem with that is facing teams like PSG, you'll see them win because any team that incessantly attacks, they would find a way to counter them and beat them. But as soon as a team shows any sign of discipline and holds back, holds a low line, they are not able to break that. And again, they'll keep getting broken on the counter. I mean, yesterday for that second goal, where was the defense? Even for the first goal, where was the defense? And
But when you say like teams shouldn't, that again, I don't think that's all Ollie's fault. 'Cause if you got, say,
it's not.
United put out their standard 11 at the minute, which will have Paul Pogba, Bruno Fernandes, Marcus Rashford, Martial, and Greenwood, you shouldn't need a great tactician to tell you how to break a low line. Like something.
True.
What are they like? Paul Pogba apparently is this world class midfielder. Bruno Fernandes again is apparently this world class 10, and then you got Rashford, Martial, and Greenwood. We all know what their strengths are, but so why do they need Ollie to tell them how to break down a low line? Surely someone on there should be able to figure out a pass through a back line, and I think that's why time and time again Ollie turns to Scott McTominay and Fred.
Right.
Or Juan Mata will suddenly make an appearance in the side, and you'll see like a result like against Newcastle when he put out Mata, Bruno, Dan James, Scott, and Fred in the midfield with I think Rashford up top. And man, I'm such a loser. I listed that really quickly, and then you see a 4-1 win. So, but I think Ollie's massive headache is as soon as he puts Pogba or someone else in the side, results like these come up too often. It can't all be his fault, and it can't all be his tactics.
It's tough because I think in games where the team is required to perform, they kind of do. But I think teams where I think they do need to respect their opponents more in a way. I know that's a weird thing to say, but that team, Istanbul, I think they should be able to beat them. I think the ability that they have, they should easily be able to break through, as you said, their defense. But even against the game against Arsenal, I think they just found it so tough to get anything going. Pogba doesn't really play the position that he wants to play. This team doesn't really have a world-class holding midfielder. And it just seems like the players are playing in odd positions. But that's fine. I don't blame the manager for that. I just think the players don't feel comfortable in the way they play, and I think they just I think it feels odd. But you want to see them deliver, but and they should based on their ability. But it's tough when you just don't see them turn up. And I think the next game against Everton, it's a big game, and I think the team, the way they play, they will win. That's how they do. When their backs are against the wall, they do turn up and give a good performance. So.
I think, and Darragh, first to you, when it comes to, I don't want to turn this podcast into just a Paul Pogba conversation because that's every football podcast at the minute. Mm-hmm. But a lot of people have just said what Rahul says. You see it all over Twitter. You see commentators saying, well, he's not being played in the right position. And my response to that is, well, what is his position? Because he's not a 10.
He's a midfielder. He's a free-roaming midfielder, though.
But then when you put him in that role, but he doesn't track back well enough to be that. We heard him when he said he was defending against... was it the Arsenal? Yeah, defending against the Arsenal game, and he was like, "Oh, maybe I was out of breath." And if you're a midfielder, you shouldn't be fucking out of breath, Paul.
Exactly. So he does need a world-class holding midfielder next to him. That's what I'm saying.
But they're few and far between. You can't just.
Yeah.
It's almost like he's turned himself into a square peg that doesn't actually fit in that midfield role anymore. Because if you play him deep, you have to have, let's say, N'Golo Kante in full flight next to him. If you push him up the pitch, then you've got to drop Bruno, who's not droppable because the guy delivers more often than not. So then do you have to change formation to fit Paul in? And Darragh, what do you make of Paul Pogba? And would Paul Pogba make it into Liverpool's midfield, given that you usually pay a free?
Well, I think, when he was at Juventus, behind him he had Sami Khedira and Andrea Pirlo, two very good defensive midfielders that kind of gave him the ability to just kind of roam the midfield and just go forward more. Didn't have to rely so much on defense. And similar with when he's at France, when he's playing for Man United, he just doesn't look. He just doesn't look good enough. He definitely wouldn't. He would not fit into a Jurgen Klopp system. that's very high intensity. Get back, protect the defense, and all that. Where the attacking relies mainly on the front three. And I just don't see what he adds to the Manchester United team at the minute. If I'm being honest.
Question: which team does he fit for?
I don't know. Well,
I think you could look at third. Back to the Champions League group, you could look at third place in this group, which is PSG. They were crying out in the Champions League final for a little bit of spark in midfield, and that is something Pogba can deliver. But again, I think unless Verratti was fit all the time, which he's not been lately, I don't think he defensively would be good enough to even play in that PSG 11,
right?
Who have been like they are PSGing all over the place in the group stage right now. Like, no, last season they had the run to the final, but their usual yearly Champions League implosion seems to be happening here in the group. But I don't know. I think there was loads of rumours as well of a return to Juventus. They're not having a great time at the minute in Serie A.
And he's always being linked with Real Madrid as well, isn't he?
And again, I don't think, because they're defensively, unless Sergio Ramos is playing, they are absolutely shit. And I'm sorry, Villas Boas, I'm stealing your word so often, but like, unless Sergio Ramos is playing, I wouldn't put Paul Pogba anywhere near that midfield.
For sure, I completely agree with that. So he doesn't really fit in. There's no real right fit for him because I think he's not defensively good enough. And in most teams now, they do need that defensive cover from the midfield. So
yeah, football is played at such an insane pace a lot of the time in the modern game that you have to have that cover there. That's where the defensive midfielder role came from, really, was that you needed someone. Just having a solid defense wasn't good enough because play is so quick. But it's almost like you need to build the entire side around him. It almost feels like everything needs to be right. As you said, at Juventus, it was more often than not because he had Pirlo and Sami Khedira behind him. But what club do you go to where you got two defensive midfielders of that quality and someone you would drop for Paul Pogba?
I think he's more of an individual player than a system player, if I'm being totally honest. I think he needs the free roam. He needs to be allowed the freedom to just play on his own and not have to, defend as much.
Should have been a striker.
He can do the Firmino role pretty well. No goals.
I don't think he runs enough yet.
He's got to roam around a bit.
But the rest of the group, Rahul, this is your area of expertise, shite German sides. And as we talk about Leipzig, who they've mixed fortunes. They got fortunate with the fact that PSG decided to just blow up last night. Absolutely trashed by United the week before, and the week before that somehow battled past a well-established world-class Istanbul. What do you make of Leipzig and how they're getting on in Germany?
I think Germany in the Bundesliga, they've been doing all right. I mean, they did have a loss to Mönchengladbach, who are a very good side. However, the one guy I do want to talk about is Upamecano, who he has not been having a good time, at least in the Champions League. Even against PSG, he wasn't great. Even United, he got turned upside down. And it's tough because this team presses so high. And I think that's perfect for a team like United because then you can just break and counter them the entire game. And that's what they were able to do. And they found success in the second half. Against PSG, I think PSG was just defensively too weak. And they were just not able to take that high press. It's high press versus high press, whoever wins. And
should just add just quickly, PSG were missing about 90% of their players.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, they did not have Mbappe or Neymar, and those are the two main attackers for the team. Moise Kean has been decent for them. Di Maria has been decent. But yeah, that team does lack any stability I mean, again, it's because of injuries for the previous game.
It is. If I just read the players who were missing for PSG last night, Verratti, Neymar, Mbappe, Letelier, who apparently is a goalkeeper. I didn't know who he was. Jesse, Stoke fans will remember him. Icardi, Draxler, and Bernat. They didn't
He
even
still
fill
plays
their
for them?
bench. Who, Jesse?
Yeah.
Apparently. Where was he last season? He was at Sporting over in Portugal. 12 league appearances, 1 goal.
What a fall from grace.
He hasn't scored for PSG since 16-17 season.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
He scored once for Stoke.
Golly.
But yeah, PSG. Darragh, what do you make of PSG so far? They had 2 sending off last night. Di Maria missed a penalty.
It's just, I don't know what's going on at all. And obviously they're missing Neymar and Mbappe, who would be obviously the two. But for me, as a outside looking in, the 2 main players. And just obviously without Edison Cavani as well, who obviously left at the end of last season. I don't know, when you have players that were missing from last night, should they be losing to Leipzig? I don't know, but I'd struggle to see them win the game.
I think they're missing someone like Thiago Silva a lot. Because he was that defensive rock.
Yeah, I was very surprised they let him go, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, it was an odd one. Even Cavani left, but he was like frozen out for a while. So it's just odd that they did not retain any of the players that in games like this could be crucial,
Yeah.
It's just such a weird pattern with them in attack because they decided to let Cavani go. Icardi hasn't necessarily gone super well. Choupo-Moting leaves, Bayern Munich legend.
So good.
So
the best players ever.
They turn to a player who has had an absolute nightmare in the Premier League in Moise Kean. Like, are they just not? Maybe COVID just hit them super hard, so they didn't want to invest too heavily in the summer. But as you said, they let that spine of the team go, which is Thiago Silva, and they haven't replaced him in any way, or even tried to.
Mm-hmm.
Strange.
Moise Kean was a very weird player they brought in as well, wasn't he? Obviously, memorable for being subbed off after being subbed on at Old Trafford. I always remember Duncan Ferguson going mental out of it.
Big Duncan Ferguson. But do you guys think, given if Man United beat Besiktas in the home leg coming up, I think it's 3-week break now?
Yeah.
Internationals, obviously, yeah.
Yeah. Do you think United get through?
Yeah, of course.
They have to, don't they?
Yeah.
If they don't, then Ollie needs severe questioning.
Nah, they're going to make it through.
Yeah.
Why are you looking at Ollie?
Thanks,
I feel bad
guys.
for the dude. I mean, again, one more thing about Ollie. He is not the guy for the long term, in my opinion.
Definitely
And
not.
yeah, and I think he's kind of aware of that. And what he's doing with the time that he has is setting the team up for the next guy to come and take over. And I think he's doing a great job at it, if you look at it from that perspective. But every game, the players are just not playing for him enough. I think and I hate it that when a new manager comes in, the players immediately prop up, start playing well, and then again it turns back to status quo. So I don't know what happens. Are the players just not good enough? Are they too lazy? Will a new manager change everything? Who knows? But I think for now you can't expect a lot more from Ole. But I know a new guy's coming very soon. I mean this season. But yeah.
Yeah, there is. As we say, at time of recording, and by the time this goes out, these stories might be rubbished or they might just go away quietly. But at time of recording, just this morning, it was reported that Manchester United had been in contact with Pochettino and his representatives, and the rumor is that no matter the result this weekend, it looks like Ollie might be done.
Nathan, not as a United fan, what do you make of the whole situation?
I think it's just strange because I agree with Rahul, which I hate to do, which is that
is that RB Leipzig are going to win the Bundesliga?
Yeah, is that Leipzig are going to win the Bundesliga when Ollie takes charge? But I think that you're not going to be able to. Sadly, these days you can't just kind of sack off the players too much, and I think there are too many players at the club playing way beneath themselves. And I hate to pick on the guy, but Paul Pogba is the first name on that list, which is that we've already discussed. Where the hell does he fit? What do you have to do to get him playing well? I was more kind of hopeful to begin with that Cavani was going to come in like a house on fire, but he's not ready because he hadn't played for a while or not. I think there's a great squad there. I know there's that lacking of a world-class defensive midfielder, but there is a fantastic squad of players there who should be playing better, and a lot of them aren't. Like Harry Maguire is just having a nightmare. I know he's kind of a bit of a meme, but last season, him and Lindelof looked fantastic most of the time. But there's just a bit of a lack of balance, a bit of a lack of kind of which formation are you going to play at any time. Sometimes we look great playing three at the back, but then the next weekend, it's kind of all been kind of ripped up. But
and if you were given the choice with Pochettino available, let's say, would you get rid of Ollie over the international break?
I think if we lose to Everton, like, why not? It's the time to make a change. If you're going to make a change, then go for it. You might as well give someone else a chance at this point.
Even if he wins the game, going forward, is there much left?
Even if we win the game, like, I don't know, I'd hate to just sack a guy after winning a match. It just seems a bit backwards.
I always remember that Brendan Rodgers was 5 games unbeaten going into when he was sacked. He drew away at Everton, coincidentally, actually. And the rumour was at the time, win, lose or draw, he's gone. And it's either Ancelotti or Klopp coming in. And I wasn't a huge fan at the time when they sacked him. I thought if they were going to do it, they should have done it in the summer after the Stoke City game, which I won't get into. But, you know, I think Ollie's done, if I'm being honest.
I think he is done, and it's quite a sad thing. So I don't think it's all been his fault in any way, shape, or form.
I think he has done a good job as well. I'm not saying he's been brutal.
Oh, he's done a fantastic
he's definitely
job.
Come in and done a better job than I expected.
I think he's done a fantastic job. Like, outside of some semi-final losses last season, but come on, three derby wins last season, 3 wins over Chelsea. Obviously, we'll always have the night in Paris, the first night in Paris. Now we've got 2. And look, we're always going to remember that 5-0 win against Bundesliga champions Red Bull Leipzig.
Stop with that shit.
And there's been some great performances, like Marcus Rashford's season last season, and maybe he'll go on to have an equally good one as well. He has established something. I'm already talking about him like he's dead. but no, I think he's done a great job, but there does seem to be a little bit of a lack of leadership. And one thing I do like about Ollie, though, is that he's not afraid to drop people. Well, I think Pochettino at Spurs didn't really have that streak. Well, I think Ollie, he will probably drop Pogba this weekend. But I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't play.
I think, in fairness, though, Pochettino didn't have.
Yeah, he didn't have
the squad.
The squad to do that.
Did he?
But maybe, it is probably time for him to go and someone else to have a shot. But I do also expect us to get through this Champions League group, whether Ollie stays or goes. But right, moving one up to Group G. And Rahul, I will throw to you because you asked to speak about them. It is the enigma that is FC Barcelona, who are top of the group, unbeaten, 3 wins.
Yeah. I think this is going to be, I don't know if this is a controversial take, but I think this team is suffering in a way because of the Messi syndrome, which is that this is not the same Messi who carried this Barcelona team for so long. Not just in terms of attitude, which makes sense that he wanted to leave and he's staying this season. But I think even in terms of what we have seen of him, the way he drives a team, on his back, it just doesn't seem like the same Messi in a way. And Griezmann is not having a good time at Barcelona. Ansu Fati is playing well, but he does seem a bit isolated sometimes. I think in yesterday's game against Kiev, it was a bit odd because at times we could just see him press to the left, and when he tried to cut in, it was very easy to hold him back for the team. And it's weird because they have leaders in that team. I mean, they have PK. Pedri is now playing. Pedri's starting in the Champions League, so that team has deteriorated a lot. I'm not saying he's a bad player, but he's so young still, and I think that there's still a development curve for him. But then you see players like De Jong so deep. I think De Jong was playing almost as a centre back, wasn't he? And then you have like PK and Dest. I think has been playing well. He did not have a great game against Kiev, but in the Clasico he was very good. This team has really good players, but without that driving force who literally created magic for so many seasons in that team, we realize how almost average this Barcelona side plays in a way. They have 3 wins and they're playing. They're not playing that well, and I think going ahead, if they don't find other components around Messi who would deliver, they will have a tough time against bigger teams.
Bigger teams than Juve.
Yeah. Juve without Ronaldo. So, just saying. Juve has not progressed in a while. So let's not talk about Juve as this, juggernaut that, every team, should be scared of, because they have, first of all, they did not have Ronaldo playing. And yeah, just the team is really, it's young and odd at this time. And it has a way to go. They have Demiral, who else? Chiesa, Kulusevski. So they have some good players who still need to develop in that system. So, yeah.
Fair enough. Darragh, what do you make of Barcelona so far?
I just think they just look like a team going through transition, if I'm being perfectly honest. One thing I can't wrap my head around is how Arthur was allowed to leave for 70 million to Juventus, and they brought Pjanic in for 60. That just makes absolutely no sense to me whatsoever.
It's this thing called being broke.
Yeah.
They're skint. They got no money. Which is why they couldn't afford Eric Garcia.
Or Jorginho Wijnaldum. I think Gino Wijnaldum would do a much better job than Pjanic would, if I'm being honest. I think he's a very underrated player. But again, Gino Wijnaldum's 30
I've been
years
saying
old.
that for so long. He's really good. I like him.
Thank you, Rahul. But obviously Wijnaldum isn't young either, as he's 30 and he was being linked with Barca in the summer. They need to just plan long term, don't they? They need to stop buying short term solutions because it's clearly not working.
Yeah, they need to just, for a long time, not a long time, but for a while at least, there was just no one coming from the academy because they were just forking out stupid amounts of money on trash. And it's come back massively to bite them in the fact that they are near as damn it broke. And as me and Rahul have spoken about in the past, they've been asking people to take pay cuts for a little bit and everything like that. They asked Griezmann not long ago if he would take a pay cut. They let kind of Vidal, Rakitic leave for pennies just to get their wages off the book.
Luis Suarez as well, to a rival, is shocking, isn't it?
And it's just an unbelievably mishandled club. But in terms of Champions League, although they're not playing great football, you can't fault them in terms of results. I think the win over Juve, although Rahul rightly said it's not the strongest Juve side ever, I'm not sure people actually expected it, given that Barca have kind of been turning to 16, 17-year-olds to solve their problems. But they're delivering, so just hope that you draw them in the next round, Rahul.
I'm down for that.
Yeah, I'd be down to it. I'd quite fancy a game against Barcelona at the minute.
Yeah.
More Germans to talk about, and Klopp's former side, Dortmund, started off in terrible fashion in the match against Lazio, but since then 2 wins, top of the group. Rahul, I'll throw to you first since they are your nearest rival. How do you think Dortmund are doing and how they're getting on in the league?
First of all, Erling Haaland is incredible, right? He is, first of all, his eye for goal scoring. I first of all thought that he would be maybe a flash in the pan in a way, but no, he's really good at what he does. And slowly we're seeing this Dortmund team. It's such a young team, but they're finally getting those players back. That the team, because always they've had some elements either injured or just this team has never played full strength in a while. And now they have someone like Haaland, Marco Reus is coming off the bench. They have Julian Brand. They have Torgan Hazard. Gio Reyna is actually really good. I think their defensive midfielders again are a bit weak. They have Delaney's okay, but De Hood is, I don't know. I'm not the biggest fan of De Hood. But I think Munier is doing a really good job, and I think I said it to Nathan before that Hakimi, as good as he was in creating chances going up ahead, he was a liability in defense. And I think Munier is going to do a much better job in kind of keeping that defensive line compact. And that's what this team kind of needs, which is defensive stability. Because going up ahead, I'm sure they have no worries. Witzel is playing. He's basically being center back with Akanji. Hummels again is scoring goals and delivering for this team. So yeah, a comfortable win against Club Brugge, and their next game is against FC Bayern, which is going to be the match that decides who goes number 1 in the league, basically, because it's both are tied at 15, and yeah, it's going to be a good game, and they look really good. So,
do you think you're going to lose?
No, I think Bayern will win. So yeah.
No, you don't.
No, I think Sancho will start, I suppose. But yeah, it'll be a good game. And it'll be competitive, but I think Bayern will get the edge over Dortmund. Hopefully.
Yeah, they always seem to in the league. But Darragh, what do you make of Dortmund so far, and anyone in this group? If you want to talk about Zenit St. Petersburg, feel free.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I'd be lying if I said I knew everything about this group. But one thing that strikes me about Dortmund is the way how in the summer they're able to hold on to Jadon Sancho. Obviously, in the past, they were just destroyed by like the sales of Lewandowski, Götze, players like that, just selling them season on season, which eventually led to Klopp leaving, just having a poor season. But the fact that they're now able to keep the likes of a Jadon Sancho, and they're able to get Jude Bellingham, who's the best player in Birmingham City's history, apparently, is nice, isn't it?
It's not so bad.
And they've been very good defensively, is one thing I've definitely kept note of.
Yeah, they're doing some good things. Say they replaced Hakimi basically because they didn't want to pay for him, and got Munier on a free, who is better defensively. But maybe that is what they needed. They've certainly got the attack going forward, and kind of able to just kind of smash teams really with pace and power. But we shall see. Usually with Dortmund, when it comes to any of the bigger sides, they kind of fold. But maybe this will be different. Maybe they'll win it. How annoyed, Rahul, would you be if Dortmund won the Champions League?
I mean, fair play to them if they do. I'll be very annoyed. I'm just saying fair play, but I'll be very annoyed. Don't say that. Why would you say that? Why do you hate me?
Yeah. So on to Chelsea. They bit of a mixed start in the league, but in the Champions League, draw with Sevilla and then 2 wins. They're finally starting to get something out of at least Timo Werner. Havertz has sadly gone down with COVID. He's not died. He's just got it. And but kind of it's Chelsea or Sevilla for the top spot. So Arsenal might be lucky and not have to play Sevilla in the Europa League, which maybe we'll get some new winners. What have you made of Chelsea so far, Darragh?
Well, obviously lately they've been a lot better, haven't they? with players like, obviously Ziyech coming into the team. He just instantly looks much better. And I don't know, I reckon Chelsea, they didn't have the best of starts to the season, but I reckon they could go on, definitely finish in the top 4 in the league, and they should be winning this Champions League group, no bother.
Yeah, they should definitely be getting top 4 in the league, 100% with the amount of investment they've had. Frank kind of got a bit of a blank checkbook. Rumours that they're moving for Declan Rice in January. Rahul, what do you make of that? I know you love Declan Rice.
Yeah, I mean, he's good. But who does he replace? I assume he replaces N'Golo Kante, which is baffling to me, but Kante just doesn't fit.
Frank hates N'Golo Kante.
Yeah, it's so
really
odd.
Doesn't like him. But it is really odd. I'm not sure why, like Declan Rice. Darragh, have you seen anything of Declan Rice to make you think he should be moving up to a Chelsea?
Well, he is West Ham captain, if nothing else. And, he's a good player, but to replace N'Golo Kante in that midfield is just, I don't know what's going on at all.
Yeah, because he really liked Jorginho, despite him not being able to run. But I think he's just really as nice a chap as Mason Mount seems, and is a great player. I think Frank is just determined to replace him. Because Ziyech was injured, so Mount had to play. Now Ziyech is back, but Havertz has got injured, so he has to play Mason Mount. So now it's like, fuck it, I'm going to buy Declan Rice. Just get rid of Mason Mount.
I like Mason Mount, and I think there is a way to work him in, like maybe a 4 system, like a 4-2-3-1. In a way,
I think they just got too many players at that point because you got Pulisic, Werner, Abraham, Ziyech, Havertz, Jorginho, Kante, like
just too
Declan
many
Rice
players.
coming in. Like,
They need more cover in, I think defence. Frank seems to be buying up every central midfielder in the world.
Yeah, they do need another centre half because Thiago Silva, he might sort of get a run of games going, but he can't seem to stay fit at the minute. I think he played 3 games so far.
Yeah, and even he's 36, isn't he? He's not. He hasn't got time on his side.
No, not really. But Chelsea, as you say, should easily walk through the rest of this group and into the next round. And I think they should, with the squad they've got, like on paper, they've got to be looking at least a quarter-final or a semi-final. Like on just talking on paper, like I'm not saying they're definitely going to do it, but the amount of money that's been invested in the players they've got.
Yeah, I think they definitely should. I think Frank should be looked at if he doesn't finish top 4 and have a good Champions League run. That's the minimum.
I think, we do need to give props to Mendy, though, who has been very good between the sticks. And the partnership of Zuma and Thiago Silva does seem to be working. And it also gives freedom to people like Chilwell and James to roam about ahead. But yeah, maybe a better defensive cover because Kante is just not having a good time at that team. He's just not gelling with Frank. So maybe Declan Rice is the answer. So who knows?
But it seems Declan Rice, he plays in the same position as N'Golo Kante.
He can cover at centre back though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean he can, but would you want him to?
I wouldn't. I'm just saying.
He can, should he?
Yeah, it's an odd decision, but I don't think Frank has been a fan of Kante, and I think that's the role that Declan Rice would take over.
I just find it so weird, and I've said this numerous times before as well, that Koulibaly is out there and his price has been named, but Chelsea just want to buy another midfielder.
He's very old now. Well, not very old, but I feel like his time to get that big move has already gone.
Yeah, well, it nearly happened in the summer, obviously, but we'll move on to the final club that we might have some opinions on, or the final 2 clubs maybe, because we look at Group B, which is the most upside down of all the groups. Mönchengladbach are top with 5 points, Shakhtar second with 4 points, and in third and fourth are Real Madrid and Inter Milan. What has happened here in Bizarro World, Darragh? What is going on?
I honestly have no idea. I thought Inter Milan would have a really good. I thought they'd cruise through the to the group, if I'm being honest. I thought they were very good last season. And I don't know. I can't figure it out at all. And Shakhtar Donetsk, I couldn't tell you any of their players. I don't know what's going on, how they're second.
Yeah, and Real Madrid, who, as you've already said, without Sergio Ramos, are just absolutely diabolical.
Oh Lord, they're so bad without him.
When they need him, because when he's not there, it's Varane and Militao. Militao, who I can only presume won some sort of contest to get to play for Real Madrid, because good God, like Bambi on ice is a compliment to that guy. And it's just Inter Milan, their transfer policy, I think just comes back to baffle me. They're starting games with like Ashley Young at wing back and like Vidal, and these are players they bought this. So Ashley Young was January, but players they bought in the summer as well. Like they got Kolarov as well, Matteo Darmian.
They're just buying all your reserves, aren't they, Nathan?
They just picked up a copy of FIFA 15 and they just took a liking to the United squad for some reason. Alexis Sanchez, Lukaku. They're going to have Alexander Butner soon, probably.
Oh, remember him, kids?
Yeah. But I think when it comes to Real Madrid, they probably will still get through because it is Real Madrid. You really should expect it. And they are still level on points with Shakhtar, but Rahul, they didn't invest in the summer at all because of COVID. Do you expect them to be able to do anything in the Champions League this season?
It's going to be tough, but this team, to be fair, is quite thin in a way, because if they lose anyone in defense, they're in trouble, as we've seen. But it's going to be interesting because, first of all, Gladbach are really good in attack because they have Marcus Thuram, Stindl, Alessandro Prea. He's really good. And this team, again, presses quite high, and it works for them. So I do like Gladbach, the way they play. And, I mean, they got 2 draws against Real and Inter and a comfortable win against Shakhtar. But that Shakhtar win against Real was just because Real were defensively shocking and they could never really get into full flow in attack because they were always, being pegged back. So this group is interesting because I do think Real will find the comeback and Shakhtar will go down. I think it'll be Real and Gladbach qualifying at the end of the day. I don't think Inter will make it. I think they're too wasteful. They have good players in Lautaro Martinez, who I really like. Yeah. But they're too wasteful at this point. And Hakimi, I mean, he completely gave that goal away against Real, the first one. This team is weird. I love Perisic. I don't know why Bayern didn't, just sign him on a permanent. But yeah, this Inter Milan team is quite wasteful at this time. Real now have Ramos back, so they'll make it through. I don't know how far they go in the Champions League. I don't think it's going to be their year. I think maybe they look into the market next season and see what happens. But this might be the season for teams like Bayern, Liverpool, City, maybe Barca if they kind of fix themselves up.
Yeah, Darragh, do you expect Real Madrid to turn it around and be able to do anything? And what do you make of this bizarre Inter Milan side?
Yeah, no, I think, again, like you were saying, Real Madrid they just will qualify for the knockouts, won't they? Because it's Real Madrid. But I think Inter are just, I don't know what's going on there. I reckon they're gone.
Well, when we look at Inter Milan, just to give you kind of a more broader scope of the slight trouble they're in, they've won 3 games this entire season. They've won 3 league matches, and then they haven't won any of their Champions League matches. And is Antonio Conte? He's perhaps in a little bit of trouble.
In a way.
In a way that not winning football matches puts you in trouble as a football manager.
Yeah, but
Shakhtar Donetsk should not be above Real Madrid and Inter Milan in this group, should they? On paper.
Yeah.
No, yeah, on paper, like Real Madrid should be walking this group, but it is they're kind of similar to what we talked about with Man United there, but with a slight other issue. They got a lot of aging players who aren't at the level they were, and then they got a lot of younger players that aren't quite living up to it.
Yeah.
No, it's just a bizarre squad. But say they didn't invest in the summer in any great way because they had no money to do it and they were saving it. So Zidane was kind of given, I don't know, just kind of a free season maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, well,
I think they will win the league. I think
you would imagine so, because Barca have had a really bad start. So, and they've already lost. Real Madrid have already won a Clásico. Yeah, Atletico aren't up to anything, so bar a shock. Like Villarreal are doing pretty well under Unai.
Yeah.
They bought nearly the entire Valencia squad.
Yeah. Poor Valencia. I feel bad for them. I mean, they're not doing too bad. So.
Yeah, well, they just sold Kondogbia. So
yeah.
Let's maybe Valencia are in a world of problems if you wanna have some fun reading about what it's like for your club to be absolutely gutted and basically left in despair by your owner. Have a little read up on what's going on at Valencia. Mm-hmm. So it's good fun. But I think we're on to prediction time, boys. Who is going to win the Champions League? Put your money where your mouth is, Darragh. Who's winning it?
Well, the thing is, I would back my team if Virgil van Dijk was fit, but I think without Van Dijk, I don't think it's capable. I'd have my money on Bayern Munich. Honestly, I think they're just such a good team, and I don't know how anyone could bet against them. Literally.
Leave it to me.
Over to a man who has bet against them. You don't think they're going to win the league, but do you think Bayern are going to win the Champions League?
All that's bullshit. I think we are going to... I mean, this is wishful thinking, but double treble looks to be on the cards. So yeah, I think Bayern will win the treble again. I've said it.
Ah, so you do think... You've made a bet that you don't even agree with.
Yeah, whatever. I don't give a shit.
And I'm going to go for Man United.
No, you're not.
we won't allow that.
I'll stop you there.
Yeah.
Your gut instantly does say Bayern are going to retain, because there's a lot of big names in there, but a lot of them just aren't. They're big names rather than being great squads at the minute. Whereas I think Bayern are both. I think Liverpool, if we can somehow get a Bayern-Liverpool final,
oof,
I would love for that, because I do think that's. I don't trust Pep in any way.
Imagine.
So I'm going to go Liverpool or Bayern. I'm going to be different. I'm going to go Liverpool.
Fuck you.
Who knows? Once Joel Matip comes back, and it's a more kind of established... Well, if he stays fit, which he probably won't, but it'll be a more established back four, I reckon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so who knows going forward? Once you build momentum in the Champions League as well. Is the knockouts still one leg or is it two legs this year? Do you know?
2 legs.
Two legs, is it?
2 legs. They're just condensing it.
Yeah.
Into the weird
so
thing.
Players can die. Players can die a quick death.
Yeah, so players can play the Euros next summer and be completely fresh.
So fresh.
Oh, well, speaking of fresh, this fresh podcast comes to an end. And we'll be back talking about the Champions League. Well, not for a while because it's not on for 3 weeks. But we might mention it in passing. Otherwise, we'll check in on our predictions. I reckon before the knockouts begin in 2021, we will revisit these predictions. But otherwise, guys, thank you very much for listening. You can find all your Project Dits stuff over at Project Dits. It's DITS. You can find me at Nathan Greenaway. Darragh, where can people find you?
On Twitter at Gibbons_Darragh. Thank you very much.
That's all right. You'll be back. But Rahul, give everyone your plugs and we will decide in the future whether you'll be back.
Wow, that's so rude. Okay. You can check out the Conventional 9 podcast on Twitter, on Spotify, and on Apple Podcasts soon. You can check out our website, theconventional9.com, for articles and podcasts and a whole bunch of other shit. And on Twitter, you can check us out, TC9 Podcast.
Oh, and if you do want to hear more from me, not talk about football, we'll talk about other things. You can, as always, find me on Rogue Opinions at Rogue_opinion, and head over to the Nerdo Network as well, where you can find all sorts of articles and everything. But otherwise, keep it here on Project Dits. And thank you very much, Rahul, for coming on for the week.
Thanks for having me on.
Thank
Darragh,
you. It's been a real pleasure, Rahul. Thank you.
Yeah, it was fun. You actually said Bayern, so you know what? You're good in my books.
Thank you.
Yeah, someone had to not bet against them.
Okay.
Also, let us know this week. Would you ever bet against your own side
Lord
using money?
I said we'll win the treble. So there you go.
All right, guys. Thank you very much. We'll be back next week. Bye.
Bye.